So let's talk about some of the fundamentals of this whole strategy then, if we can, Jamie. Coming back to the research and the trial and error that you guys have done at Sky over the last couple of years implementing this, documented now the step-by-step process of your sales process into your pricing and then into converting and delivering on the service. So talk to me about the importance of having this process documented and what are some of the core elements of it.
So quite a few years ago, going back now, I met Jack Daly. Some of the Wise Tribe may have heard of Jack Daly, but one of his points was at the conferences that said, write a sales playbook. So a sales playbook was every step that you need to do that maximizes the lead or prospect to a paying client. Conversion rates like 80% plus. Can you document those steps that you're doing? And so I went away and, wrote basically 10 steps, or what Jack Daly or what the Americans, I think, would call a sales playbook. And then on top of that, I also read another book called Pricing with Confidence, which was about giving clients options or packaging. This ultimately resulted, Brenton, in the development of these 10 steps. Do you want me to quickly step through each of these
Yeah,
steps very quickly?
there's a couple in here that I wouldn't mind drilling into, but if you wouldn't mind just giving us a quick overview of the steps.
Just quickly, we'll run through these. So, part of the sales document and the sales process you go through is these 10 steps. And the first one's why us? Why your firm? So you should tell your prospect why you're the best. Any awards you've won, if you can get involved in winning any awards, whether it's in your local area or, Victoria, or your membership bodies, or chartered accounts, whatever. So just tell them why you're the best, and just be transparent as you can on that, because you believe in your firm. The second one is who's going to be looking after you as a client, and what's your team? Ed always said, don't just have one person. So in the sales process, who's your senior client manager, or who's the assistant client manager? And who are the team of people that are actually looking after my file and my account? And so you specify that, who's responsible, who's your contact point. Don't be wishy-washy about it. Tell them who looks after the file.
Mm-hmm.
Then you should say in the sales document, what other services do you offer? And have that there. So, that could be bookkeeping, that could be helping them with finance, that could be asset management. So have a list of the other critical services you offer so they can see that. Then obviously you have your proposal and your packages, and we'll touch base on some of the packages and how Sky has presented them over the years. And, they can take bronze, the silver, the gold, or the platinum, however you want to sort of pitch it like that. What about the value add? What are the value adds? So what are the things that come with all packages? And so keep creating value, the perception of, oh yeah, I get this and I get that. And then you can have your optional extras. The old say, do you want fries with that? It's a classic saying I think we get from McDonald's, but you can use that because it's important never to judge what you think the client wants. Time and time again, every time we put something in front of the client, we didn't know that they wanted their wheels updated. So tell the clients, what other things you can add. And then in points 7 and 8, go into some of the more detail and some of your more complex packages, and we'll touch base on that as well. But, just go into more detail to explain exactly what it is. And that's probably the higher end type services that you can offer. The other one there is reverse engineer industry worst practices. And over the years, when I have business coach some of our own clients, whether it's a plumber or whoever it is, what we did was we decided, well, what's the worst thing accountants do? And then we tried to guarantee against that, and we'll have a quick look at that as well. And that again explains.
I think that one's super important.
Back years ago when I went to every client, going back now, and sat with them face to face and said, back in those days, it was like, why will you pay me up front? Which is pretty gutsy. It was this reverse engineering 7-step process that really convinced clients of why to pay us up front. Obviously, you want step 10 is, what to do now. Yeah, where do I sign? Yeah, make it easy.
Absolutely. And I think by documenting that and have seen the sales playbook, it makes perfect sense that, every team member should be focused on, if they're sales facing, focused on following each one of those steps every single time. And you can see why when they don't, how the sale doesn't convert for sure.
every time we stepped away from this and testing, every time I always found that our conversion rates went down. Alternatively, we always left money on the table. If we didn't follow this step, we always left some service that the client potentially would have taken, but we didn't show them, for example, or we didn't give them a package for the bookkeeping because they might have said, oh, you know, I'm doing my own bookkeeping, but they didn't even know we could do it. So never assume. Yeah.
What's really good about the packages is that if you've only got one thing to offer them and you quote it one thing up front, then they generally always feel like, maybe I should shop this around. Maybe this isn't quite the best price or the best thing that I can, and I'll just go get another quote or I'll just go interview another accountant. When you present, you know, 3 options in front of them, it feels like to the client that you've done your shopping around for them and they're going to save a lot of time. So often people don't like being just given one thing because they feel like, you know, you're just corralling them into what you want. But if you put the options down, then they don't feel like they're being pushed into a corner. They've got some choice. And often you end up selling the bigger package to them just because you've presented it to them.
There is a good bit of science behind how many options you should have, which we'll get into in a second. I think, Jamie, you kind of included that in the sales playbook itself. But yeah, I totally agree, Ed. I mean, you're basically showing the client that you save them half the time from going to shop around because you've got the options there, and one of them must suit your circumstances.
Correct.
For sure.